Hello gang, I hope you're well. I have decided to start this video right now because I'm stuck behind a learner driver and then two other cars. But we are driving in the most beautiful sunshine, and I'm just taking Etta to nursery just for a half day. I let her nap at home because she's still kind of recovering, just because I think once they've been out of nursery for a week, I think bringing them straight back in and kind of throwing them in at the deep end, I know for Etta, for example, she'll just be exhausted and then emotional, which I don't want. So I just thought I would take her in for a half day at first this week, and then she can have her 2 other full days. For reference, by the way, she's over 17 months old now, and she does 3 full days at nursery. I know it's hard to know what will suit. Obviously every child is different, but I'm actually going to take it back down to 2 full days, just because I'm noticing that she's just incredibly tired on her days off, over tired. So I think it's too much for her right now, because she's so young. So anyway, we are heading into town now to drop Etta off, and then I am going to the dentist. Now, I have not been disciplined when it comes to the dentist in probably about 6 years. I've been the odd time, but I haven't been consistent, and I definitely haven't been taking their advice and things like that. So I'm going now because the girl's got a cavity, which is mortifying. Really interesting. Really interesting. The dentist said that all of this may have been caused by my morning sickness, because I had really bad morning sickness with Etta, and I didn't even realise it can cause your teeth to decay, but it makes sense when you say it out loud. So genuinely do get on it with the dentist once you're kind of through the pregnancy. Just make sure there's no damage to your teeth if you did have morning sickness like myself. So yeah, I just need to get my teeth to a higher priority on my list. So we're going now, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm also going to get a quote for Invisalign. I mean, I've already had a quote from them for Invisalign, and it was not cheap. However, they said that they wouldn't go into it deeper until I've had this cavity filled and had the kind of essential work done, and then we'll talk about the kind of cosmetic work. So I'm really excited, so I'll bring you along for that. You see people on Instagram having like, hi Invisalign, like kindly, and I'm like, Invisalign? Holler at your girl. Etta's just thrown her iPad on the floor. I'm gonna sort Etta out, get her to nursery, and I'll catch up with you. Hello gang, so Etta is now safely back at nursery, which is so good. However, they've just been telling me that last week they actually had 6 kids off with the same kind of thing that Etta had, and they've had a bunch of kids off with chicken pox, and it's inevitable. There's nothing you can do. Obviously they have to have it. Looks like I need to prepare for chicken pox, because she's probably going to catch it. How do you prepare for something like that? I don't know. I guess I'll check and see online what creams you get for chicken pox, what medicine. I'm guessing just Calpol, but I will see. I actually might speak to the GP ahead of time as well, just to kind of prepare as much as you can. Anyway, so now we're heading to the dentist, which is great, and it's such a beautiful day. I'm going to go to my favourite place called Clementine Cafe and get an iced chai. It's my favourite place ever for chai lattes. If you're ever in Cheltenham, go to Clementine for your chai latte. But I'm going to get an iced one today, which I haven't had yet there. And then I might just have a browse around the shops. I also might go to Home Sense, because this is my OCD kicking in. Now that Etta has got more, she hasn't just got loads of kind of teddy bears and toys like that. She's actually now got things like magnets, puzzles, like different kind of categories. So I want to categorize, and I want to get really organized in the new house. So I want to go to Home Sense and get loads of different kind of pretty pink boxes basically, and label them. I've always wanted to buy a label maker. Maybe now's the time. thrilling life I lead. Categorize everything and make it all brilliant and beautiful and organized, ready for this new house. I've also started packing, like fully started packing, bringing boxes downstairs, and each day Maeve is taking more and more to the storage unit. So that's both stressful and exciting. Once it's all done, I'm going to be going home with Etta for Easter. So we've got a really exciting couple of weeks ahead, but also very unnerving. You know, that moment when you have packed up your current property and you're waiting to move into your next one, that is so stressful because you're effectively homeless, and for a mother especially, I think there probably is nothing more unnerving to your system. So I need to buy a crate of Trip. Fun fact about me, I'm obsessed with Trip. I absolutely love the stuff so much. I only have the drinks, I don't use the gummies or the supplements or anything like that. I just have the drinks and I absolutely love it. So good. What a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. Honestly, like, can you see the rays just flooding through the windows? Beautiful stuff. Everyone, we are now back home. It's actually a new day, if I'm being completely honest with you. I have decided to post, or I did decide to post a Q&A for a C-section on my Instagram. So the reason why I've done this is because I was so adamant that I wanted an elective cesarean, but I found it hard in terms of the judgment, the lack of information, finding out what to expect from a real person rather than just on a piece of paper that they give you. I kind of thought, right, I watched a lot of birth stories when I was pregnant and I couldn't find that many elected cesarean positive happy ones. I would either find emergency cesarean ones or traumatizing ones. So I kind of thought, I'm going to do the positive one, and anybody who finds this, I just want you to know that everything is going to be absolutely fine and your body is a million times stronger than you think. I actually got quite a nice amount of questions, definitely enough to give a nice view. So let me just find them. Oh wait, how did you find them? Did I need to screenshot them? Oh crumbs. Hold on a tick, I didn't screenshot them. Is that what you meant to do? Oh gosh, if I've literally lost these questions, I'm going to be livid, mate. No, okay, I've got them. I've got them here. So everybody sit down, Riley, sit. Oh, I might have to pause this in a minute and go and take the dogs because they're having their groom today. Their summer cuts, they're going to be completely clipped, which I'm really excited for because it makes it easier to find ticks and stuff like that in the spring, summer. They're just like my biggest fear. If you live in the countryside, you know. You can sit down or lie down, whichever you prefer. Right, okay, so stop it. Just in case you didn't already know, a C-section is a serious procedure where the baby is delivered through incisions made rather than through the vagina. I never thought I would come on the internet saying the word vagina. It can be done if they deem the vagina birth to be unsafe, but also you can opt for it. Now, when I very first mentioned this to my midwife early on in my pregnancy, it kind of was made to seem as if you couldn't opt for it, but you can. They kind of make you feel like you need a very, very valid reason for this. And I was even offered therapy to explore the reasons of why I didn't want the vaginal birth. You can't say natural birth for vaginal birth because all births are natural. I was offered and encouraged to get therapy for this, which was a little bit unfair. I didn't feel like I needed that. It was not a, if anything, I had thought this through and analysed my reasons so beautifully and so perfectly that I was already mentally and physically and emotionally prepared for the elected cesarean as much as anyone could be. So I was really, really happy with my mental state and my emotions towards the procedure. I definitely did not feel like I needed therapy at that time. I really sat down and thought what was going to be best for my body. One of the reasons why I didn't want to have a vaginal birth and I wanted an elected cesarean is because then I know what's going on. If you're having a vaginal birth and that is your birth plan and you want it as natural as possible, no drugs, painkillers, then of course that is wonderful and that is very warrior-esque of you. However, all of the stories, and I mean all of the stories that I had personally heard, were that kind of beginning, and then ending in something that was not planned. Whether that was an emergency cesarean, or being induced, or having pain relief, or having epidural anaesthetic, or having that incision. Now forgive me, I don't know the name of it, and this is going to sound very aggressive when I say what it actually is, but when they cut you from your vagina to your butt. All of those are potentials and are possibilities when you go in for that vaginal birth plan. I did not want a list of possibilities, all of which were entirely possible, when I was going in for the biggest day of my life and the biggest thing I was going to put my body through. I just wanted to know the end goal. I wanted to know exactly how this is going to start and end. And with the cesarean, everyone is prepped. Everyone is designated to the theatre who needs to be. The time slot is designated, etc, etc. I've heard, and this is just hearsay, but I've heard that if you're having an emergency cesarean, I've heard that from the moment they make the decision, they have 15 minutes to get the baby out. That might be completely incorrect, but I've heard this. So in my mind, I thought that is not only going to give me stress, anxiety, panic, every other intense feeling you can think of, but more importantly and especially, it's going to make my baby be born into that kind of environment, that incredibly stressful and intense environment. And I did not want that for my baby. I didn't want their first breath on the outside world to be in a stressful environment. Yes, of course, you can never completely take the stress away. I mean, you're giving birth to a human being. You can only normalise that so much. However, I knew that if I was aware of what was about to happen, I could mentally prepare a lot better than if it was going to be a surprise. So that is why I decided to do the elected cesarean. They can bring in essential oils for you. You can choose for them to dim the light, which you can't necessarily do in an emergency. You can create a playlist. Those sorts of features I thought would really, really please my mental state in that moment. And it really did. I had the essential oils, I was doing deep breaths, I was as relaxed as you possibly could be. And I just remember laying there whilst it was all going on with a team of incredible people around me. I think I had 3 midwives. I had the doctor next to me who was kind of monitoring my heart, and I'm not sure what he was necessarily doing, but if it would drop, he would kind of press something or put something in, and then it would go back to normal. There was a point where I was sick and someone just immediately came to me with the bag. There was a point where I needed a cold towel on my head, so someone was there for all of that. I just know that in an emergency, that extra bit of help and that extra helping hand might not have been there. So that's kind of the foundation of what my mind mapping was in terms of my choice. Let's get into the questions from Instagram. Oh man, I've done it again. I've come off it. Okay, so someone has said, did you have to give birth prematurely for a cesarean? I really wanted to give birth on a certain date because I'm a Virgo and that means I'm controlling. But no, they booked me in for exactly 1 week before my due date. If your baby decides to be 3 or 4 weeks early, I'm not sure what happens then in terms of the planned or the emergency. I remember them saying to me that it will still result in a planned cesarean because they won't wait for you to be 10 centimetres dilated to push, sort of thing. They will be able to prep theatre, the team, etc. in order for it to be a planned, calm environment rather than an emergency. So that was reassuring. But yeah, my baby was technically born 1 week prematurely, but that does not fall under the category at all of a premature baby. Someone has said, would you do anything differently? Now this is an interesting one, and actually maybe I should end with this one, but regardless, I've just read it out now. I would do a lot of things differently. My actual birth plan and how that went, I wouldn't change a thing. I absolutely loved the cesarean and that hour. However, the aftermath, I would change a lot. So I did not realise that you could book a room. I thought you only got a room if you were doing the entire experience privately, which I did not. I was with the NHS. So I didn't know that that was an option. So when you come out of theatre and you and your baby are in the room with, I think there were 6 other mothers and babies, my baby They say that that night when your baby is just born, you will get a good night's sleep. Baby exhausted and you are exhausted, so you can get a good night's sleep that very, very first night. Obviously the nights after that, it will probably be a different story, but that first night. So I was always told that first night, get some sleep. Your baby will sleep. You've got everyone around you. You've got your monitors. Everyone's going to be absolutely fine. Get some sleep. And I was not able to do that because the mothers and the babies around us, there was a lot of noise and there was a lot of disruption. So therefore we could not relax and go to sleep. In hindsight, I wish I had known that you could actually just simply book a room without having to be private. And I would have done anything to make sure that I could have afforded to book a room for a couple of nights and stayed in that room, literally unpacked and settled in and really let myself go through that recovery for a couple of days. Another thing is I would change is I would have absolutely no one to the hospital to visit. The very first visitor was my mum, and she was amazing because she knew exactly what I needed and she knew exactly what the baby needed. So she brought me all of my favourite foods and things like that from Marks and Spencer's. She bought Etta her first outfit and her first teddy bear, which is a bunny, and actually it's her favourite thing in the world right now. It's called Bun Bun. It's her favourite bunny, which is just so ironic because I haven't enforced that. That is literally just the teddy bear that she's chosen to attach herself to is actually the one that she got that very first moment in hospital, which is amazing. So the room that you come out of theatre and go into, you're only there for a couple of hours, I think. I can't remember the exact amount of time I was there for, but you're only there for a certain amount of time. That's where my mum met me. Then you go into another room and that's where you stay for 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. And my auntie and uncle came at that point, although I love them. It was quite random because normally you'd expect just immediate family. Then they left and then my mother and father-in-law came. And they came twice over the next couple of hours. What I wish I had done is, yes, I realise, I'm well aware that the father of the child has just gone through something massive as well. And I'm aware that the father of the child wants his parents to meet the baby. However, the mother that has just given birth, no matter how they've just given birth to that child, the mother is the only person who should have say on who comes. I was too out of it, I think, to really say yes or no, and I definitely didn't plan it ahead of time. In hindsight, all I would have wanted was my mum to come and give me a hug because her baby has just gone through a serious operation. A cesarean procedure is the only serious operation that you are conscious for. Every other deemed serious operation you have anaesthetic. So that in itself is incredible. Not only that, they are cutting through 7 layers of skin. Any other procedure that serious, typically you would be sent to a rehab. You would be sent to a place where you can be taken care of in recovery and to go through the motions. With a cesarean, you're not taken off to a rehab. You are taken into a room and you are expected to be on your feet 6 hours later. You're expected to take responsibility for another brand new human being who is so innocent that they can't do anything for themselves. Whilst you are having ongoing contractions of the uterus, total numbness, ongoing medication for the pain management, initiate breastfeeding to keep your newborn alive, and handle visitors. You are so powerful and strong to be able to go through one of those things, let alone all of them. A major surgery with 7 layers of skin cut open. It's just unbelievable. Which brings me to another question. Somebody has said, how long is the procedure? So Etta was out at 9:43 a.m. I'm not sure what time we begun. She was definitely out in less than 10 minutes, which is so quick. But then they took the rest of almost an hour to sew up my scar. So in total, I think it was just under an hour, but she was out within the first 10 minutes. And the rest of the time it flew by because I was obviously in tears about seeing my baby girl, and they were checking that she's okay, they were checking that I'm okay. So the rest of the time just absolutely flew by. It felt like 5 minutes after she was out. Someone said apparently, well, it's not really a question, but apparently your scar is numb afterwards. My scar was numb for probably 6 months afterwards. I'm not sure what is the average, but speaking to friends of mine who also had cesarean, that seemed to be quite normal. I didn't expect that. I don't think anybody told me it was going to be numb, but then again, it was up to me to do the research. Weirdly, what I will say now is from the very beginning, I loved my scar, and that's such a weird thing to say about a scar, that you actually love it, but I had love from my scar from the very first time I saw it. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was such an incredible thing to see. That is where my baby came out. Wow. That is where my baby was born. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it was the most unoffensive thing in the world. I know a lot of people might be worried about a scar in terms of if it's pretty or if it kind of ruins the way you look naked or whatever it may be. But it definitely doesn't. I mean, chances are the person who's going to see your scar afterwards, apart from yourself, is your husband, and obviously that's where his baby came from too, so therefore he should love it too. And if he doesn't, and if he's superficial enough not to like the fact that the baby came out of that scar, then he needs to go. Now it is honestly non-existent unless you properly look at my tummy. I can show it to you if you'd like. Let me know if you want to see my scar, but you really can't see anything. It's really low down. It's healed beautifully. The only thing that I did, which was naughty, is I started putting a cream on it sooner than they said to. Clearly it didn't do a disservice to my scar, so I'm glad I did, but that was probably quite naughty. You should just simply do what the doctor says in terms of your scar. Favourite things about your birth experience? Obviously, number one is meeting my baby. However, what I will say, which is quite funny, is I barely even saw her when she came out because my eyes just filled with tears. I was like this, looking through all the water in my eyes, trying to make her out. One of my favourite things is my playlist, actually. First of all, like when I was doing my playlist for my cesarean procedure, I started adding like spa music and ocean sounds, and then I thought, listen, this is a huge thing that's about to happen. Let's not pretend it is a spa treatment. Let's take it for exactly what it is. So then I started adding all my favourite songs. So I added some Coldplay. I actually had a song from Fred again, which is pretty iconic. I had a lot of Disney movie songs as well, because for me they just make me smile. And I actually, at some points during the procedure, I started singing the songs that were on my playlist. I started singing along, and I think that was the most beautiful thing for my mental health in that moment. It made me feel amazing, it made me happy, it made me excited, all of those high vibrations. I think Etta was actually born, which is so ironic, to the song Outro. No, is it M83? M83? Yeah, Outro. And what came on, the song that came on after that point when I was hugging her, was one of the songs from the movie Inside Out, which is a Pixar film. And I just remember them so much, and now when they come on, I'm just like, oh my gosh, my baby was literally born to these beautiful, beautiful, incredible songs that I picked. Like, I orchestrated that moment, which is a privilege. Someone said, would you do a C-section for future pregnancies? Yes, I definitely would. Oh. Yes, I definitely would. They will tell you that you have to, and you can only, they told me that if I want a cesarean for my first, I know I'll have to have it every time, and that I can only have up to 3. However, that isn't entirely true, because I have a family member who had a cesarean at first, and she managed to find a doctor who would do a vaginal birth the 2nd and 3rd time. So there are ways around it. I don't know if it's advised, I'm not sure. I think it's completely up to you and your body and your experience and your emotion, but it's not entirely true that you have to have a cesarean every time if you've already had one. I'm just going to pause this really quick because I need to take the dogs to their groomers. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. The dogs are safely deposited at the groomers. I have made myself a delicious cup of tea. By the way, top tip, if you cannot have caffeine like myself, then the Clipper decaf tea is the best one there is. The Yorkshire decaf tea, I really expected big things from it, but it did not deliver. Clipper decaf is the one. So, to pick up where we left off, someone has said, how do you prepare for a cesarean? Now that is such a huge question. Like I keep saying, it's a mental, physical and emotional preparation that you need to go through for sure. Once I knew I was allowed, just shows how it was kind of made to feel, allowed to have a cesarean. So preparing the lead up, I felt a lot of judgment, and I was actually taken out to lunch with, so hard to say this, with someone, and it was very much like an attempt to kind of convince me not to do the cesarean, and I just couldn't believe it, because it's my body and it's my baby. Yes, of course it's our baby, me and my partner who I've decided to have a baby with, but I'm sorry, but it's my baby because it's coming out of my body. It's coming from deep inside my body, and I have gone through the pregnancy. I have gone through 9 months of all different kinds of emotions, pains, discomforts. From that, I have earned the right to decide how this is concluded, how this ends, how this next phase begins, you know? And for someone to try and deter me away from how I want this to go, I just found quite phenomenal. It's so interesting, that phase of your life. So when you're deciding where you want to go to university, where you're deciding what you want to do at the weekend, if you're deciding if you want to dye your hair, if you're deciding on a boyfriend, all of those things are big decisions in your life, right? And your parents, you like to think, are, and mine definitely are, supportive, as supportive or as much or as little as you would want them to be. You know, you can be like, no, that's enough of your opinion, or can I have your opinion, or whatever. When it comes to having a baby, everybody has their own idea of how this is going to go for their grandchild, for their niece, for their cousin. Everyone's got their own idea of how this is going to go. And it's a highly emotional thing for everybody involved, everybody related to that baby. Everyone has got a huge emotional attachment of how they want it to go, and therefore everyone has their opinion, and they are sharing it, let me tell you. Names, for example, I had so many different names picked out when I was pregnant, and it got to the point several times where someone within the family on either side would say, listen, that name I really don't like, you cannot name your baby that. And so I didn't. And it all worked out beautifully because Etta suits Etta so much. The name is perfect for her. And I adore the name. Every single time I say it, every single day, all day, I'm like, I love your name so much. However, I shouldn't have let others dictate what I called my baby. I'm so sorry I keep saying my baby. But like I said, the mother, you are building this human being. Something like 300 bones, you earn them, you feel them. I mean, depends how your pregnancy goes. You might have a very straightforward and seamless pregnancy. I had a lot of morning sickness, so I earned those bones, I earned those organs, I earned that beautiful, incredible, perfect, luckily, thank Jesus, baby. So just remind yourself throughout the entire pregnancy that it is your right how that baby is delivered as the mother, as the body that has been housing that baby and bringing up beautifully. Because there are so many twists and turns where, as the mother, you have to make decisions to make sure that that baby remains healthy, right? So the fact that you have made responsible and selfless decisions throughout those 9 months to keep that baby as healthy as can be, it is your prerogative to decide the next step. I'll stop going off on a tangent now, but as you can see, I'm very passionate about the fact that those people who had a very strong opinion about me not having the birth I wanted, I just still can't wrap my head around it. I'm trying to put myself in the situation of even if one day Etta wants to have a cesarean or doesn't, or whatever she wants to do, it's her body. It is her body. I don't own that body. My parents were absolutely fine with it, by the way, just for the record. My dad didn't really have an opinion either or. My mum was worried at first, but then once I explained it all to her, she said, oh yeah, of course, I completely understand it. So that was great. So my immediate family were absolutely fine. Someone said, please tell me about the recovery. You are advised to go the 5-5-5 rule. 5 days in bed, 5 days on the bed, 5 days near the bed. Now, I was naughty, and this is something I regret as well. I was very eager to get up and get going. So I did not have 1 day in bed. From the get-go, my partner started inviting guests over, and I should have said no, and they were friends, very, very good friends, and so I was so excited to see them, of course. So that emotion outweighed the dissatisfaction of having to entertain when you are feeling the way you are after a cesarean. I didn't outwardly mind, if that makes sense. However, in hindsight, oh my goodness me, no. We had guests every single day, and it was an awful idea. Sorry, Maeve, but it was a terrible idea. I should have said absolutely not. I'm spending the next couple of days in bed. You are bringing me breakfast with my baby, with my newborn, and I will see people in a couple of weeks. That didn't happen, so therefore from the day after, so probably about 20 hours after we got back from hospital, we had people over for a Sunday roast. So I obviously was up and down the stairs, which was not a good idea. And it took about a week for me to be able to walk straight. So at first you're hobbling. You are hobbling. It's not easy. And if you miss your pain management, wow. There was one point in the middle of the night where I hadn't kept up with medication, and that was the most phenomenal, I can remember it. It was the most phenomenal pain ever. It was indescribable. But other than that moment, it was all absolutely fine because I was handling the pain well and I was keeping up with everything that I was meant to. And so therefore, that was the only one time that I felt actual pain, to be honest with you. It was all very seamless. In terms of the 5-5-5 rule, I would definitely be doing that next time. I would definitely be taking that way more seriously, and I would definitely recommend you do the 5-5-5 rule. You also need to make sure that you do not drive. I did. Obviously, living in a rural area, you can't get nappies, milk, anything from walking distance. So I had to get in the car 7 days later to go and get things from the supermarket. I had to. And that was not okay in terms of a physical point of view, but also I don't think a lot of car insurance policies cover you at that point. So that was all very silly and I'm not proud of it. But maybe it shows you how I felt. I felt able to do it. So the recovery for me was great. It really, really was. I didn't take care of myself as well as I should have, but nevertheless, my recovery was brilliant. From the very beginning, when you come out of theatre, they will give you a pillow to press onto your stomach and scar as a way to basically kind of cushion the pain. So if you sneeze, if you cough, whatever it may be, you kind of just push the pillow into your scar and it really helps you take the pain. I really did carry a pillow around the house with me. I would always have it against my scar, and that made a huge, huge difference. So to sum up, I felt able, not that I should have done, I felt able to drive within a week. I could stand up straight again a week later. You could not for the first few days. My appetite was absolutely fine. My bodily workings, everything was absolutely fine. I did not shower for nearly a week. I just used baby wipes to keep clean. They said that I could, after a few days, have a shower, not a bath, but I didn't feel comfortable. So after a week, I had a shower. Then with my midwife, I took my dressing off. Ooh, 11/11, make a wish. And I just did everything my midwife said in terms of my scar. Which brings me to my next question, which is scar creams. So I use a scar cream called Nadea. Let me show you what it looks like. See, it's this one. You see? I wasn't that religious with it, but I did use this. My scar has recovered beautifully. The only thing I was scared about with the cesarean is something called the lip. So sometimes your skin can kind of ever so slightly kind of sag over your scar. So I was so scared of that, but I do not have that even slightly, thank goodness. I don't know if that is because of this, because this cream can help prevent that. So I would definitely give this a go. It's better to try this than to not try it. There's a lot of questions that are very similar to the ones I've already answered. Are you bedbound? How long for? Enjoy the experience rather than just getting through it. So obviously that for me was the playlist. And even just knowing that on this date I'm giving birth, even just knowing a date literally putting a date in your diary, like that's the day I'm giving birth, as opposed to it being a complete surprise, was brilliant, because I was able to, the night before I was able to properly moisturize, and she got my nails done, like silly things like that I did in order to make it an even more enjoyable experience. Just a few tips on managing the recovery from a cesarean to end this part of the video. First of all is to put a little bit of a step ladder by your bed. That, along with the pillow and holding that onto your scar, those two things will be such a huge help for you. Another thing is kind of circulation for your ankles. When you're lying in bed or on the sofa or wherever you are, keep your ankles circulating and moving, because you need to keep that blood flow. Another thing is, this is going to sound so funny to say out loud, but kind of rolling off your bed, as opposed to if you try and sit up in bed, wow, it's painful. So you want to press the pillow into your scar and roll and kind of roll off the side. It's trial and error to see what makes it more comfortable, or rather less uncomfortable, I should say, but you'll know what I mean. Another thing is to do mini walks. Like I said, try not to do stairs at the beginning, but just doing little walks around the room or around that floor of the house. Once again, just increasing that circulation is imperative. And then the other thing is just rest. Like I said, I did not rest enough. I didn't even have one full day in bed, and that was ridiculous. I'm not saying that in a way to say I'm so cool, I didn't do it. It's ridiculous, and I really wish I had rested and thought, I'm not moving from bed today. Baby's in the Moses basket right next to me. A really random tip, actually, to round this one off is to pick a nice TV series. That first week, when you're in bed with your baby, it's lovely to have something that takes you out of the current situation. The current situation is obviously beautiful. You are there with this human being that you've created, could not be more in love with. However, it's also highly emotional. So to have something on in the background, is light-hearted, I think will really help your mental health. It definitely did with me. I restarted the Gossip Girl series and I absolutely loved having that on in the background. I just think it brought a harmlessness to the day-to-day. And when you have that newborn baby, every single minute you are terrified, because you're analysing their breath, and a baby's heart rate is all over the place. You're analysing their eye movements, you'll analyse their skin for any rashes or anything. So to ever so slightly lighten the energy of that environment, I just think is a really strong idea. Leading up to your cesarean, go to HomeSense and get some incredibly soft, comfortable throws and blankets. Go to Marks and Spencer's, get all of your favourite things, put them in a really airtight container and have them in the bedroom. Emphasising the airtight containers obviously for rodents. I definitely got a lot of pyjamas. Obviously your weight is fluctuating during pregnancy and also afterwards, so you kind of have to get yourself some new pyjamas. So I love the H&M maternity range massively. They had these amazing wrap cardigans that I lived in when I had just given birth, because obviously their wraps are the perfect for breastfeeding. Also, they are so soft, and actually they made me feel more confident than maybe I would have done if I just had a t-shirt on. I will stop talking about cesarean, because unless it is something that you want to do in the future or you're about to do, then it may not be terribly interesting. Although I think it should, even if you're a woman, it should be incredible to hear what your body can cope with and how strong it is. And if you're a man watching, I think it's incredible to kind of understand the magnitude of what a woman goes through for that baby and how it is different to what you go through as a man, to appreciate that at the end of the day, it's her body, her choice. Anyway, come with me to Bibury with my mum. I can't believe we've never been to Bibury. It's so strange. I've lived here for so long and I've never been to that area of the Cotswolds. We're going to go there now. We're going to take Etta. It's a very hot day and I think it's going to be a little bit touristic there. But nevertheless, we're going to go check it out and I want you to come with us. I did not close off this video yesterday and I think I'm going to close it off now because I am so excited for the next few weeks in terms of content, and quite frankly I just want to get going on the next one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.